And good morning, everybody. It is May 28th, Alyssa's birthday, my wife. She's perpetually 30 again. And you are listening to the Liberty Collaborative Podcast. You have myself, K. Carl Smith, and Mike Hancock. And at some point, Chris Coyle will be joining us, but I will be jumping off because I've been fighting with a washing machine for the last week. And my mother-in-law has been so kind to do my laundry for the family. So I have to go talk to the repair person that's here. So, guys, I'm going to hand it off to you, and I will be back shortly.
Oh wow, man! Life gets in the way sometimes, doesn't it?
Sometimes it does.
Yes, it does. All
So
right.
you're gonna let the black guys have it today.
That's it. All right, folks.
Hey, we will not disappoint. We will deliver.
I bet you guys will for sure. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Hey, Carl,
Let's
why
go.
don't you go ahead and kick it off?
Yeah, well, let me kick off with this commemorative T-shirt we're gonna push out there. My son is 15 years old. Well, he'll turn 15 next month. He came to me about several months ago, wanting to work at a fast food restaurant. I said, unless you want to improve your customer service skills and say you want fries with that hamburger, that's okay. But I got to get you where you can work with your hands or start a business. So I can get you to work in a body shop as a teenager, working for a friend of mine, learn how to do something. So he came back and said, well, Dad, I want to start a T-shirt business. I said, okay. And I did not come up with this. I wish I had of. He came up with it. So he came up with a commemorative T-shirt because we're celebrating the 250th anniversary of our nation, right? And he designed a T-shirt and has Frederick Douglass on it. And so what we decided to do, and talking to him, he said, Dad, but I want to limit it, the number of people who can buy it. So what we're going to do for our viewing audience, we're going to offer this commemorative T-shirt. We're only going to sell 250, period. And then it'll be marked where there'll be a stamp on the shirt inside where it says 1 of 21, 250, 2 or 350. But here's the situation. We're only going to do 250 shirts. So we're starting, the store is open now. If you go to my website, kcarl.company.site, and you see the shirt list at the bottom. It is a commemorative 250th anniversary of our nation with Douglas on the front of the shirt. Well, you'll see the image when you get there. But we're only going to keep the window open for this until June the 10th. After June 10th at midnight, we're going to close the vault. And so I can help him get the production of the shirts going so we can have them delivered by the 4th of July at people's homes. So here's some of the aspects of the shirt. Number one, 250 shirts only. These are vintage shirts. He got pretty good quality shirts, 100% cotton. Mike, I go in the stores. I paid $50 for a T-shirt.
Oh yeah,
and his shirts are $35. This is his business. I'm just the dad helping him out doing the quality control checks, Mike. And so when you go to the website, and make sure you read the information about the shirt and what it's all about, how it's going to order. But one of the most important things is this. Let me put my coaching hat on here. When you wear a T-shirt that has Frederick Douglass on it, and you talk about the United States of America, there's a lot of pushback you're going to get, especially from the left, because what they do around the 4th of July time, they misrepresent his 4th of July speech. You got to be prepared for that when you wear this shirt. So what we're going to do, when you order the shirt, look in your email. You'll get an email from me giving you a summary and to educate you about how to represent that shirt, because we don't want you to wear that shirt and you can't defend it. So instead of waiting to give you this sheet when you receive the shirt, we're going to make sure that as soon as you order that shirt, you're going to get this little flyer as a PDF, and it explains to you all you need to know about his 4th of July speech and what the left always misrepresent in his speech, so you can educate, you can articulate, and you can inform people of the truth. So you can stand strong, not just with pride about the history of this country, but stand strong and stand proud and be able to handle any type of potential encounter you're going to have by wearing this shirt with Frederick Douglass on it, because it will come up, because our folks just don't know. They don't know the relationship between the two. How Douglas saw the Constitution as the glorious liberty document, and he respected the founding fathers. So that's what we're gonna do. Is go to the website. I'm in fact, I got about 3 shirts. The first shirt I told my son I'll put it in a frame for
Michael,
him.
whatever's in K. Carl's coffee these days, I want some of that.
It's not the coffee. It's actually the beet juice.
I'm telling you, K. Carl.
It's actually the beet juice.
Tony, you're on fire. You
Oh man,
on.
that's because I got a 14-year-old son that keeps me going.
Buckle up.
Oh yeah.
Well, you see my shirt I got on today, the original badass Republican, right? Frederick Douglass, right?
All right.
You are a piece of work. Well, Michael, let's go back to that for a minute. I want to update you on a conversation I had with a professor you know well who says hello, Dr. Thomas Kranowiter.
Oh yeah.
He's watching today. But K. Carl, you go back to the Frederick Douglass 4th of July speech, and it's not just certain people or the left absolutely distorts that verbatim. I mean, I'll give you an example. My wife and I went to the Frederick Douglass display, and I called you from there several years ago in Hartford. And in particular, Michael, it pointed out how brilliant Frederick Douglass was at understanding the power of cameras and pictures. And apparently, to this day, he's got more pictures than almost anyone in history. And he thought
the most photographed individual in the United States during that time. Because well, it was me. I'm gonna let you say it, but I gotta get this out. Photography was invented by the time Douglass had escaped. So Douglass understood branding before branding became a word. Douglass intentionally, when he took his photos, he did not smile. He always had a suit on, and he always had a stern look on his face because he wanted to improve the negative image of black men.
And he coached others, right, Carl? This whole display, Michael, was couples where Frederick Douglass had advised them to dress up, look serious, and the whole display is about Frederick Douglass and in particular the power of photography. But I want to come back to the video. They have a little auditorium, Michael and K. Carl, in this wonderful museum in Hartford, and they had a play acting scene of someone pretending to be Frederick Douglass speaking in front of a group, and it was sort of a courtroom sort of semicircle studio kind of auditorium thing with all this beautiful wood. Young black man, and he's pretending to be Frederick Douglass. And he talks about the beginning of the speech, the words that they all quote, K. Carl, about the failure of the United States to live up to its thing, and totally out of context, didn't ever describe what came before he said that, how he honors the birth of America, is fortunate, or came after, as you've written about. He just takes those words out of context and absolutely runs with it and starts to harangue what Frederick Douglass might have said and did say in his criticism without ever the context. And I think that alone was one of the reasons, remember, we wanted to start this Liberty Collaborative to give people the truthful context around history and around events today. So,
yeah, absolutely. That's one of the, we talk about the tools of totalitarianism. And one of the biggest ones, again, is just taking and distorting history and twisting it into something that ultimately imprisons the people over which it seeks to free.
Yeah, they lie through omission.
Yeah.
They don't tell the whole story. And when you run with that half truth, you're not informed. You don't know what's going on. You just repeat what somebody said. You got to take some. I'm a former Democrat, and one of the several things what led me to just I couldn't no longer be associated with them. I got tired of being lied to when I found out they were lying to me.
Yeah,
because of omission.
Yeah,
and so that's just one of the things. But that's what tyrants do.
Yeah.
And slave masters did the same thing.
K. Carl, they only admit when they've been caught, right? It's and the question always is that an admission or is that an utterance after guilt has been established, right? They always play right to the line And there's, do you guys read the Free Press? Are you subscribers?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, it just I really hats
Good
off.
stuff.
I don't agree with all the writers all the time. I think I've
Right.
shared that.
Yeah.
This guy, Jerry Rubenfeld, Yale law professor, really great writer, detailed stuff, what we all love, lots of facts. But that said, the breadth and depth of intellect on Free Press, amazing. Well, there's an article today, guys, about all the states like Minnesota and California that denied that there was any fraud going on, Medicare fraud, called Trump names, called everyone names, called it racist, and then quietly they're going after all these people, but never admitting that in public.
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
Crazy. So we were going to dive into something today, and it was kind of, I think, an offshoot or a carryover from last week of Tools and Tyrants. And I think we had a particular point this week on saying, boy, guys, we talked about this Tuesday, here it is Thursday, and Chris Coyle can't quite exactly remember, but it was on the same theme of the misinformation going to people about so many things going on.
I think in particular, what it was in particular, Chris, this NAACP campaign, this out of bounds campaign, where they're pressuring black athletes not to attend these SEC schools.
Yeah.
So, Michael, for the sake of transparency in our audience who loves context, we got to have some fun here and tee this up. If this had been Alaskan ice skating or anything else, but when you talk about football in the Southeast, you're flying over K. Carl's house and messing with the Crimson Tide. And so, guys, look, no one cares about personal property unless it's your personal property, right?
Yeah.
But when they attack an institution where these kids work their whole life, and I sent you that film about Saban and these amazing programs that I will submit to you, Kager. I'll throw it to you guys talk about, but Alabama is built on character, teamwork, process. I don't think there's a better set of athletes in the country that exemplify qualities that we want in all citizens, all human beings, of respect and hard work and preparation, humbleness. And then the politicians are attacking those schools, trying to use a political wedge.
Well, Chris, they're not only attacking the schools, but they're attacking those very principles, right? If you take a look at the organization, the NAACP, that's doing this attack, I asked the first question, well, what actually have they done to create within the communities they're supposed to be helping any signs of human flourishing? We don't see wealth being created. We don't see families being stronger. We don't see anything except them asking these soon to be football players that will ultimately, many of them will ultimately go ahead to make millions of dollars to make a sacrifice for something that they can't do. Boycotting is not going to get the Supreme Court to overturn their ruling, right? That's not going to happen. So it's like they're asking people to do something that ultimately will end up resulting in nothing, which is exactly what they've done for all these years.
Yeah. I think the concern that these civil rights organizations have about what's happening with redistricting in the South, I think it's a real concern, considering the history of Alabama and some of these southern states. I understand that. But their strategy is wrong. The strategy is to have these young people to leave money on the table. You talk about hundreds of thousands of dollars to make a statement about something they have no control of, which was a problem created by politicians in Washington. So so I don't know what the listening audience, what their base of knowledge is on this. So what's really going on? The NAACP is encouraging black players and families to boycott SEC schools. We want to hit it where it hurts and get these young players, football, basketball, to go to historical black colleges instead of going to the University of Alabama, these major colleges, which I'm a graduate of historical black college. But You're asking these young people who worked hard, who can have an NI that's life changing in terms of money, to leave that behind and go to HBCU. HBCU can't pay that money. And oh, by the way, these politicians, they're not putting money in the game. These politicians not saying take my salary and send it down to the HBCUs, help pay some of the NIL of these players. But my thing is, though, when has it become acceptable for a large organization or politicians to tell someone they don't have the liberty to make their own decisions about where they want to go to school? And then here's a guilt trip. If you go to the guilt trip is this: if you go to Alabama or you go to these SEC schools, you're betraying your black community. Bunch of BS.
It's just terrible. Just because Alabama happens to be in the state of Alabama, they pick on them. Everything about it, K. Carl, just seems so wrong at every level.
It's wrong. It's immoral because these politicians, again, they're not putting money in the game. But you want these young people to sacrifice their finances. These life-changing money can come their way to go to HBCU. No. My question is, why you want them to voluntarily leave a school or not go to that school? Didn't we fight for years to get accepted to the University of Alabama when those young girls went to stand in front of by George Wallace? Yeah. Now you want them to voluntarily leave?
Yeah.
What was it? I can't think of his name. That in Mississippi. What's that brother's name? I can't think of his name. But no, here's the solution. And we probably need a part 2 on this because the problem is the Democrat Party in NAACP, they think they have a stronghold on certain communities, that they own it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem. Leave these kids alone. They have the right to make their own decision on this. This their decision. It's not my decision for them. I went to historical black college. That was my choice. They have the same right to make that kind of decision about their life. Not some politician put them on a guilt trip to leave money on the table to go to somewhere else and play. No, they have the God-given right to make the decision that's best for them. They need to get the hell out of the way and leave those kids alone.
Yeah, K. Carl, we tied this to last week's podcast. And Aaron, you and I talked about Michael here, right in our state. We're one of the smallest states in Connecticut. And one of rural northeastern Connecticut, we've got a primary underway between 2 Republicans. And the one Republican who happens to be black came out with a leading statement that the reason people should vote for him is he's a member of the Black and Brown Caucus. And this is a Republican. And everyone was sort of like thunderstruck going, well, what does the caucus stand for? What are they for? Who are they representing? You go and look at it. They just passed a bill that restricts federal agents from enforcing federal law. You know the whole routine. Yep. ICE can't wear masks. And immediately the DOJ is suing Connecticut. So here's a Republican using race, even in a Republican primary, in a rural corner of Connecticut, bringing it up and waving it in people's faces. I pray that we could move beyond that, but we keep coming back to it.
Well, you got to be careful, Chris, when somebody says they're Christian or they're Republican. The question is, what kind of Republican are you? What kind of Christian are you?
Right.
So,
hey, Jack, just a second. I'm getting this noise.
I think that's Aaron's feedback.
Aaron, you might have to go on mute till you talk.
Yeah, you're typing as he coming across strong.
Is it really? All right.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
But yeah,
sounds
I think
like a washing machine in the background.
It's still your typing is still. Go ahead and type. I think it's still the sound's still coming through, my Aaron. Yeah, your keyboard. The keyboard.
That's really odd. I have no idea why that's happening.
Yeah. And you sound like you're in a cave.
So, K. Carl, I wanted to though pass along Dr. Thomas Kranowitter's hello to you and Michael to you. He remembered you and Stephanie. And guys, in future podcasts, I'd love to invite Tom to be on.
Oh, that'd be great.
What he's doing is really cool. He's got a online sort of training course he's launching. I think it's called Waypoints. And what they're going to do, it's just brilliant, typical of Tom, is he is taking the somewhere around 160 of the most consequential documents that represent our history, from, of course, Frederick Douglass, Locke, various things, and providing a syllabus to teachers on how to teach it, homeschooling, public schools, to really make sure that they understand the basis of history are these historical documents, letters, the Federalist Papers. And so, you know how we've talked, and of course, the wonderful people leadership program of the Rockies, Mike and K. Carl, you were a visiting teacher there. Teach, right? That we've got to understand our history and what they really said and why it matters. And that you've got to get that to the kids.
Yeah.
We know homeschooling that's happening, Aaron. We see a lot of pushback here. But K. Carl, you with your book, Marx versus Douglas. But it's something we got to keep an eye on. I'd love the chance to promote what he's doing, because it's not partisan. It's about the shared values and constitutional principles we all share. And Michael, what you keep saying is it's teaching people what they mean, what they actually said.
Yep. I think that's the thing that Stephanie and I see so very often, is as we're interacting with people, they don't really know the history. They don't know anything about Frederick Douglass, right?
Yeah,
or except that if they know anything about Frederick Douglass, well, he was a black guy, right? And I think he might have done something good. But understanding those founding principles, understanding what the Declaration of Independence stands for and stood for, what the Constitution actually means. You've got to know that stuff, so that when people come out and start saying things like, well, democracy is being, ran over and all that sort of stuff, the Voting Rights Act, oh my goodness, they're killing the Constitution. What you would know is that what's happening is we're actually doing a course correct, where there are elements of that Voters Rights Act that actually were unconstitutional. And so we're supposed to be pushing this country toward one where the law applies to everybody equally, not in any sort of a special way. And the people that want to overturn and undermine this great country that we have always pushes us in the opposite direction, while proclaiming that it's being done in the in favor of democracy.
Yeah. Well, again, what you're saying is, if you don't know about these source documents that establish our country, if you don't know the truth, you will never recognize a lie when it comes to you. And the opposition will bring the lie. You got to know that it is a lie. If not, you're going to become a slave under that type of system. And that's the thing. I got to put this in, because I know I hit on the NAACP about this out of bounds campaign. And I mentioned, I understand their concern, because what Alabama is trying to do, because of the Supreme Court decision, because back in the 1960s, when they found out that the Democrats were finagling the voting of blacks and suppressing black votes, it was mandated that Alabama has 7 congressional districts, and the mandate was give the blacks a district. So now it's 6 Republican districts, 1 Democrat. Now, because of the Supreme Court decision, what Alabama's doing now, they're running fast and furious, trying to go back to 7. Now, here's my concern. Be 7 districts where Republicans can win, okay? So if I think that through, if it's 7 districts where Republicans can win, they don't care about the black vote. You don't need it. You don't need it to win. So if that's the case, then black folks going to be ignored. That's my concern.
Well, that's but here's my concern is that when they did have the district, they didn't get anything done. So I'm not sure like having a black district is a benefit either. So the solution to the problem has to be more education of people to understand what our Constitution should be about, educating them to the point where they whether black, white, or otherwise, stand up for doing the right thing. Because, and again, that like the black district didn't make the black district any wealthier, any more educated, any more apt to have a great family. So that clearly.
So Michael,
solution.
Okay, Carl, Aaron, just for the listeners' edification, maybe for my course correction. So what I think we understand, correct me if I'm wrong, is that the Supreme Court has come down a number of times and said there's no, so first gerrymandering, right? So that was out of Boston. That was creating these weird districts, and that one looked like a salamander. But then they came up with theories in the years after of cracking and fracking and packing and cracking, right? Where they pack someone in one group. They were all artificial means, K. Carl, you say it, to control, to try and before someone votes, pack. And look no better place than Massachusetts, Connecticut, where we live, right, Aaron? There's a little less than half of Republicans. We have zero Republican representation, zero. Same in Mass. It's absolutely been distorted beyond recognition. And so the same people, Democrats that cry foul in Alabama or somewhere else, apparently haven't looked up here in Connecticut, Mass. It's a mess. Why do they allow it to begin with?
About separation by color, you mean?
No, just by district changing. It seems like you can't step into that cauldron without getting dirty, and I don't know. It seems like almost a conundrum with no solution.
Yeah, well, that's part of the concerns I had. Washington, they created this mess, but you want young kids take their money and solve it. That's the problem I had with that one. Yeah. So I'm gonna answer the way I think you're asking it to me. And first of all, I agree with you, Mike. I don't believe in having districts based on color. I don't believe in that. But that's what we have, and that's what. But my concern is if the problem is Republicans are not campaigning in the black community now.
That is, you brought that up.
They don't. Yeah. Republicans don't during the primary. Republicans do not go to the black community at all, and they're for a lot. And I talk to all these operatives. They tell me this: you hunt where the ducks are. They take that Goldwater quote, and they tell their candidate, you focus on your base, don't focus on the black vote. If you win the primary and you get to the general election, then you go to the black community. And I tell them, well, you don't have anything to harvest during that time because you didn't plant any seeds. So the problem is, if you have a district where it's 7-0, what the math shows that Republicans don't have to go to the black community and campaign. You don't need them. That's my concern. Yeah. So if you don't need them, you overlook them.
Yeah, and
you overlook them forever.
Yeah, and what I would say is the black folks needs to engage beyond the Democratic Party and get engaged in the Republican Party more.
But the part of that though, Mike, I can get engaged in the Republican Party, but when you gonna come talk to me? When you gonna come to my community? When you gonna hold town meetings? So I understand that. But Republicans got to do the job and get in those communities and campaign.
Hey, Carl,
they don't do it, Chris. They need to take your course. That's why they don't do it.
Okay, Carl, let's give the guys a little bit of background because you and I did a lot of homework with a guy named Matt Wiley a couple of years ago. Remember?
Yeah.
And guys, very briefly, what K. Carl's saying, you can look back historically where campaigns literally, and I think we talked about Georgia's example, would not go into Atlanta. Right, we were all around Atlanta, but just wrote it off. And I forget, Kate Carr, whether it's your sources and Matt Wiley's, but when they looked at polling data in these urban centers, what they found were a ton of available potential voters.
That's right.
Who weren't buying in, Michael, to all this rhetoric, who did not support girls and men's sports, they didn't buy into the woke stuff. They were concerned about illegal immigration in their neighborhoods. And Kate Carl made the point, these guys are available, but you've got to teach them. And get this, I won't name names, but Kate Carl was talking to a group, Republicans, and they want to do text messaging talking about chemical abortion, I think it was. And Kate Carl's like, No, you gotta appeal to them. You've got to explain why they have a hero in Frederick Douglass, what he means, what it is, and if we could change their minds, they may change the way they vote. But you start with the mind. And these guys, we're talking, Keiko, if I'm right, it was like less than 1 million voters, for example, hundreds of thousands that were available in social media for a campaign just for Republicans to start to talk to them. And we couldn't get it funded at the time, but the data was all there.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker.
And they still did not win Atlanta.
Right. But here's the kicker, Keiko,
Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong. What you showed and math showed was we only needed less than 1%. We just needed like point something percent of those people, either, Michael, to switch, or they wouldn't switch, but they would switch the way they voted. Because a lot of people, as K. Carl used to say, want to keep it confidential.
Yeah.
Sure,
what they
sure.
think. But when they go in the booth, they vote. Guys, it could have swayed gigantic elections where Georgia, again, as example, was within a hair whisker of one party or the other. Had they gone in and spoken to the people in Atlanta about basic Republican values, I think our contention was they could have swayed elections by going exactly where the Democrats don't expect them to go and still don't today.
No.
Yeah,
And here's the other side of this. In terms of the black vote, Republicans don't think it's possible. They don't think it's possible to move that needle in the black community. But there's proof out there. Chris Dutt and Stephanie did it. It's possible to move somebody who history do not vote Republican to vote Republican. That's a Democrat. And I want the listening audience to Google this name. His name is Guy, G-U-Y, Guy Lalonde, Lalonde, Guy Lalonde. I want you to Google this gentleman. Guy Lalonde in 2023 won the Lakeland, he's in Lakeland, Florida, the Lakeland City Commission seat. I think that's how they word it. 2023, Guy Lalonde. Guy Lalonde is a white conservative. He won a seat that had been occupied by black Democrats for 50 years. Guy beat the black Democrat incumbent. This district is 60% black. 60% black. This white gentleman won. I'm not going to tell you how he did it because now you asked me to get into proprietary information. What you need to do, you need to take Chris Cole's course. That's how you can find out how he did it. But God did that. But he had a strategy. And you just can't go in and using the wrong words and talk down to people. You got to know what you're saying. You got to know what words to use, what word not to use, and what to focus on. Guy Lalonde did it. If Republicans ever decide they want to be serious about having the message become more diversely accepted, you got to bring people in who know what the hell they're doing and teach you how to do it. That's the problem.
Yeah, and Aaron knows. Do it. Michael, Aaron was a brand new candidate, wanted to run in a liberal college town of Mansfield, Connecticut, and 2 hours of training. I swear, Carl, he must have read your book on the way home. Because what did Aaron do? And you could tell this guy was a former SWAT guy because he doesn't go to a house with a flag out. No, he picks the house with a Harris Waltz sign in the front yard. He wants to go right up the cliff, and they knock on the door. And Aaron, you take it away. What happened when you described, Michael, thanks to you and K. Carl, to you, what you stood for?
Yeah, it was kind of mind blowing. I walked up to the door and I said, I had my walking app and it said, well, knock on this house. And I saw Harris Waltz and I was like, well, let's see how this goes. And I knocked on the door and the first thing the mother said was, oh, you should be here for my son. He's the Republican. And I said, well, I'm a different type of Republican. I went into being a Frederick Douglass Republican, and the father at the top of the stairs was a history teacher. He goes, I know all about Frederick Douglass. So he came downstairs, gave me a little bit of a quiz. I passed. And by the time we were talking and getting to our shared values and constitutional principles, where one right ends, another right begins, they took my information. They took my palm card, which they didn't want at all. And then standing out during election day, I had Democrats come up to me and said, I voted Democrat down the whole line, except for you. You're the only Republican I've ever voted for. Keep doing what you're doing. And I was like, wow, all right. Once you are the adult in the room and you can have actual conversations about policies, our values, the direction the town or the country's going in, and it's not about personalities, completely different conversation.
And Michael, that's what you and Stephanie taught us, and we've taken a hold of and use here. When you tell people, you can see them going, well, you're a Republican, aren't you? And you say, wait a sec. I think some framing thoughts here are important. And we immediately disown personality politics. Immediately. Say, we just don't deal in that. It's a distraction, won't save this country. And thanks to you, Michael and Stephanie, we say George Washington warned us about the danger of divisiveness of political parties. And look where we are. So we don't talk about that. What we do talk about is something we share together. Our founding values, constitutional principles. Let's talk about some of the issues relative to those particular things. And Aaron, we've seen it across all the candidates we help now. We really don't care whether your door is Republican, unaffiliated, or Democrat. What we care about is you're a voter, you have rights, you're paying a ton of taxes. I joke with someone, guys, that financial hardship is bipartisan. Democrats' bills are going up in our state. They aren't getting a break on their electric costs. They understand this is the fourth most expensive state in the nation, guys. So eventually people vote for their wallet. Say, I just someone to listen to me and stop lecturing me. So that's thanks to you guys, we use this every day.
And it works.
That those who are watching this is not K. Carl saying this. These gentlemen here put it to action, just like Guy Lalonde did. Let me tell you the story about my brother. He was invited to speak right before the general election at Booker T. Washington High School in Tuskegee a couple of years, not this last general election, one before that. And Trump was running against Hillary Clinton. And the juniors, seniors, predominantly black high school in Tuskegee, the principal introduced him, conservative Republican so-and-so is here, and immediately the boos rang out. And the walls went up. As soon as she said the word conservative Republican, then my brother smartly got up and said, well, allow me 2 minutes to introduce myself. My name is Dr. blah, blah, blah. I'm a Frederick Douglass Republican, and I hold Frederick Douglass in high esteem. I agree with his life empowering values. From that point on, he had him. Because number one, they recognized the name, and he mentioned the name of somebody they respected. And from that point on, for the next 40 minutes, he walked them through Frederick Douglass's 12 life empowering values, which are shared values that they resonated with. At the end of that session, the same students that booed him stood up and gave him a standing ovation.
Beautiful.
The same students that booed him rushed him to get a copy of that the life empowering values card. And one of the teachers took the card, blew it up, Michael, as a poster and put it on the wall in the classroom. Totally bypassed the Board of Education.
Okay, Carl, but let's talk about the the old saying, let's talk about the silent stuff out loud. So with K. Carl, when I first met him, and Michael, you'll remember this. I said, hey, K. Carl. He goes, Chris, what? I said, see all these white women over here? They don't think they can say this. They don't understand this. They were like, well, this is K. Carl's thing. No, it's your thing. It's the basis of why we're proud to be Republicans. What they fought for in the Civil War is this equality where your race, your gender, your religion does not matter. And for us, Aaron, to teach people, this is fundamental to our having a conversation with people about values and principles that matter, was as if you can't evoke the name of this hero, Frederick Douglass, if you're a white person. And so, Michael, you remember when K. Carl presented out in Colorado, look around and think, there are a lot of people thinking, I can't say this. Oh, yes, you can. Absolutely. And when you do, just watch.
I remember the first time I met Mike. After I spoke, Chris, I think I told you the story. After I spoke, I walked back to the back. I was going to sign and autograph some books. This guy blocking the door. He said, where have you been all my life? I said, what, sir? What did I do? Where have you been? Man, I needed this. Is that right, Mike?
Yes. Sitting and listening to K Carl that first time, my head almost exploded. I said, this is the answer, right? This is the answer. This is the way that we begin to reawaken people, not just Black folks, but people all over this country to what this country is all about. Frederick Douglass is the perfect example of what a citizen should be. And so thank you, sir. I'm still thanking you.
Yeah.
Hey,
And
guys,
look,
shout out to Victoria. She's down in Sterling, I believe, Connecticut. She's a fan of this show. I met her, Aaron, you met her at the convention.
Yep.
So thank you, Victoria, for watching.
Hey, Victoria, how you doing?
Victoria, I donated your $10 to George Austin. That's a guy we got to get on the show. Guys.
Yes.
First generation American, proud to be a Republican, and says, we saw him last night, he looks at people and says, I am the Republican Party. Yep. I am the epitome of the Republican values of family, faith, hard work. He says the future of our kids. But Aaron and I stand there like proud coaches watching this guy light it up on fundamental human values that our view of life is that everyone shares, and he espoused it so wonderfully.
Greetings from Florida.
Yeah, that's my mom. Thanks, Mom, for listening.
I thought you was washing her clothes.
Oh my God,
it's your mother-in-law.
Hey, Carl, I want to run over some cash for Aaron to buy a damn washing machine. He's been wrestling with this thing for weeks.
Well, we figured out
exactly.
The lady was here. We figured it out. It's another $133 for a circuit board I got to put in, and it would have been $400 for them to do it. So I'm like, I've already taken this thing apart like 3 times. What's one more time? So
he's on the phone with me, guys, and I hear this heavy breathing, and he goes, Chris, I'm inside the washing machine. And what do you mean inside? He goes, no, I'm literally inside. I said, well, Aaron, call me later, dude. I don't want to mess up, but he's
Chris
been
calls,
inside this machine for a week.
Well, I hope I have better experience with my washing machine today. My pump went out yesterday, and waiting on Amazon to bring it. So I don't want to be inside any doggone washing machine. I'd rather be under it, not in it.
Yeah.
Well, guys, good show. Thank you. It's been fun.
Yeah, I was going to say let's wrap it up because it's we're over 42 minutes today. That's a
Let me close by saying, hey, go to the website kcarl.company.site and get your shirt. Get your t-shirt, wear it proudly, and we'll make sure when you purchase that shirt, you're going to get the summary of not just talking points, but help and teach you understand how to push back against those who's going to attack you for having Douglas on your chest with the American story.
Yeah, and what I would say is do what K. Carl just said, but also dig into our founding documents, dig into the founding principles, and don't be afraid to go out and engage. You might receive some resistance because the truth always is going to get resistance, but stand strong and be about bringing this country forward to that vision for which it was always meant to be.
And Mike, all that on there, you don't have to assert a thing. You do not have to assert a position. All you have to do is ask them upon what foundational facts their point of view comes from. How do they see this working, right, guys? You'll learn a lot more by asking questions than listening.
Absolutely.
That is true. All right, gentlemen. Well, good show. I'm sorry I was in and out. I don't know where my typing was coming from. I'm trying to fill out forms and everything else here while doing this. It's been a crazy day. So hopefully next week I'm back to my regular scheduled appearance here. But
ton of fun.
It's been great, guys. Thank you for all the comments, those listening online. And remember, you can always find us on Alexa or Amazon, iTunes. Just search Liberty Collaborative and leave us a review. And
Aaron,
remember,
keep posting those clips.
Absolutely.
Alexa, volume 10, Liberty Collaborative, please.
And remember, we'll see you.
All right, guys, out here.
All right, Aaron. For some reason, I didn't hear the music